regular metrics you see from the outside in, they are killing it. And then you go behind the scenes for even just a little bit, and you find out it's like, wow, are they even happy? We don't get a sense that what we're doing actually is contributing or making a difference. On a road of spiritual bankruptcy, hell that we've manufactured for ourselves, where we are not fulfilled, where we are not satisfied.
Oliver Manalese is an inspiring individual with peaceful, calm, yet energetic personality. For the past 11 years, Oliver has been coaching successful entrepreneurs to eradicate spiritual bankruptcy and achieve peaceful prosperity.
The highest level of mental energy, of physical energy, of ability to control your focus. When you are confronted with the things that are not in your control, be prepared to say that it is nothing to you. The way I've designed my business, the types of clients that I'm working with, the types of people in my life, is that a reflection of self-care? Is that me caring for myself? If you don't have time, if you have no energy, and you feel completely capped.
His coaching has helped individuals to find more meaning, fulfillment, and satisfaction in both personal life and businesses. Oliver is also the author of the Daily Prosperity Method. And in this interview at the Energy Lab podcast, we discuss the importance and benefits of peaceful prosperity, the secrets to owning your day, and provide powerful tips for business owners to create better life and better businesses. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Hello, Oliver. Great to see you.
Hello, Katie. Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. First of all, I want to congratulate you on your book. I was super excited when I saw the message, and I could not wait to grab it. So, how is everything going on your side?
It is. It's been an exhausting week, to be honest. It's been a lot. First of all, thank you so much for being one of the first people to like the post that announced the book, The Daily Prosperity Method, and being one of the first ones to actually check out and buy it. And it means so much to me that that you resonate with it, and that you're supporting, and that you're having me on your show. So thank you so much. Grazie.
Prego. I didn't say the name of the book, so thank you for repeating. The Daily Prosperity Method, How to Expand Your Capacity by Owning Your Day. So I think this is a topic that is very relevant for many of us. It's definitely for me, for Marcos, and I'm sure that many people will benefit for it. And I'm looking forward to read it all.
And it's a good irony, right? To be like, I wrote a book called The Daily Prosperity Method about expanding your capacity and owning the day. And this whole book launch process has me completely exhausted. It's been a lot of work. It's been 16 months in the making, but it's been what a worthy undertaking. I feel like it really pulled out the best of my gifts and the best of my experiences over the last 11 years of doing this work of working with entrepreneurs. And I couldn't feel more satisfied for being on this side of it, on in this stage now, and for people to be reading it and sending me messages about how it's landing for them. It's doing its job. The intention behind it is
Wonderful.
I'm starting to see that is really nice.
So you're getting back the energy that you probably were expanding in the last part, I guess. So such a big project. So this is wonderful. Yeah.
I think that's an important piece, right? Like, there is only so much bandwidth that we all have. There's only so much capacity that we all have. And I think when we are intentional and purposeful and very thoughtful, and we invest it into things that really utilize our gifts and is of high value and solves real world problems for the people we're here to serve, it can really, the work that you're doing can start to feel exhausting, because you're putting so much of yourself into it, but then also knowing it's actually making a huge difference. It's actually making an impact. And I think that's one of the more meaningful aspects of really looking at ourselves from that lens, because the worst feeling, I think, is to get to the end of the day or the end of the week being so busy and look back and be like, did I even move the needle? Like, I was so busy. I did so much stuff but did I actually even do anything? That's what I think for entrepreneurs and high achievers, it's easy to get sucked into all these different activities, but not really knowing if is there an ROI on this? And that's really why I think the aspects of this book is really geared towards that type of person.
Yeah, I totally resonate with what you say. I think many of us are there. Maybe it's not a Friday, it's a Saturday, asking and looking back and exactly asking ourselves, okay, of the 3,000 things I'm doing, what is really like, moving the needle and worth doing? So that's, I think it's what makes as well everything, the challenges were exciting and the discovery process. So from one side, it's sometimes very frustrating, but on the other side, that's all about our choices and our learnings, and they keep on learning. So I think that there's no perfect answer, but you learn while doing. So I think there's a lot of wisdom in the doing itself. Cool. I would love to have a definition of peaceful prosperity. The first time I heard it was like, okay, that sounds familiar, but what is it? So maybe you can describe it for us here.
Yeah, I think the best way to understand what peaceful prosperity is to look at what the complete opposite is. And this is the experience that I had with my first business. I was in the real estate business, and we were investing in properties, and I thought I had it all. I thought I had my whole life figured out, and I invested so much of my identity in it. And as things were starting to move forward and we were creating progress, and we started to see the dream start to become into reality, and I could see the next 30 years of my life. Okay, well, we're going to do bigger deals. We're going to do more deals. We're going to work with even fancier investors and all this. And I was like, oh my God, is this all there is, really? That's kind of the feeling that I was left with. And unraveling that whole experience was so impactful for me, because I was devastated by the fact that this thing that I had went all in on actually was completely meaningless to me. It actually meant nothing to me. And I thought I had it all planned, and it was starting to come into fruition. And so as I started to pull the plug and I started to close that business down, I go really deep into this experience in the introduction of my book, because it was a very monumental moment. I didn't realize that I had my whole identity wrapped up in what I did, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of. If the business is here, then I'm up. If it's down, then I'm down. If you're not working, then you have no identity or no self-worth. And I made that big mistake, and it led me on a road of spiritual bankruptcy. And I think that's the experience that is the complete opposite. It's almost like this hell that we've manufactured for ourselves, where we are not fulfilled, where we are not satisfied, where we are investing so much of our mental, spiritual, emotional energy, our creative energy into a project that doesn't nurture us at a soul level, doesn't nourish us. We don't get a sense that what we're doing actually is contributing or making a difference. I've worked with people over the last 11 years who, by all regular metrics you see from the outside in, they are killing it. And then you go behind the scenes for even just a little bit, and you find out, it's like, wow, are they even happy? Like, are they even satisfied? And so I think when we're trying to understand what is peaceful prosperity, we got to look at spiritual bankruptcy, which is the complete opposite. And that's part of what my job is here on this earth, as I understand it, is to help eradicate spiritual bankruptcy for entrepreneurs and to help create peaceful prosperity. And so I think, to me, peace is ultimately that stillness, that sense of calm. I'm working with groups now in my coaching practice, and I'm so satisfied to hear the feedback after 8 months of this version of the work that I'm doing. And they're saying, this is the calmest I've ever felt. There's so much change, there's so much growth, there's so much uncertainty and unknown. I've started a new business, and I'm getting my first clients, and I'm creating all these boundaries, and it's so intense, and I don't know what's going to happen next, and yet it's so weird. I feel so calm. And for me, like, that is like, you have capacity now. right? Like in the midst of the change and the obstacles and the opportunities of life and business, are you coming from a place of a relaxed state where you can be fully present and engage with the opportunities and the obstacles that are in front of you? So really, it is being, present of mind, being very, very coming from a place of stillness from within, so that even though there's uncertainty and turbulence, and really, if you're a growth-minded person, you're going to destabilize your life. If you're trying to discover yourself and what your purpose and what your gift is, and you want to serve others with that gift, you're going to create uncertainty and discomfort in your life. So if we can create a foundation of that sense of peace from within, I think you're just better able to show up as the best version of yourself. And then the prosperity aspect, sorry, go ahead.
So it's about as well resilience, right? Like creating that, doing those hard things and creating the resilience that probably, depending on the generation, I don't know, on my side, or when I look at our millennial generation, even the younger, it's a huge challenge because we are not used to do the hard things, and everything is often easy and quick. So when tough moments come, then we're like, okay, now, so what? Like, what am I going to do? So doing this as exercise to make us stronger and more resilient in business and in life, it's super important.
Yeah, that's an important thing to acknowledge, right? I mean, I think there are two sides of it, right? Like we have a part of us and a part of where we are instant gratification. I want the result fast. Like, why isn't this already happening? But then there's the other side. There are a lot of entrepreneurs, high achievers who like the grind and like the hustle, and a lot of the most amazing things that I hear in my coaching practices when clients are saying, wow, I could actually create that result without suffering. Like, wow, I just charged more money for my services than ever. And I didn't have to hustle and grind and endure, tolerate my business. This could actually be fun. This could actually be I could be relaxed. And I think detaching needing to suffer in order to earn more money, I think detaching that is part of that peace aspect as well. Is like, hey, if you are utilizing your gifts and you're really intentional and mindful about where you are pointing those skills and those gifts, you can create tremendous value for people and get paid really well. And you're not necessarily suffering or enduring or tolerating your business or your life. And, the prosperity aspect to me is like, I come from a world of investing and generating wealth and financial freedom. And that's the background that, I grew up in real estate. But prosperity to me, it just speaks volumes. It says it's more than just financial and material wealth. It is that inner sense of abundance and well-being, and a sense that you can actually enjoy this moment right here, that you can have goals and you can have important objectives for your life, but along the way you have to live in this body and you have to experience this moment and be in the process and the practice. And so it's about, can you experience that on a day-to-day basis, right? Like to actually experience daily prosperity and not wait for some milestone before you can pat yourself on the back and say, wow, like that was amazing. It's like, no, every day is an opportunity to actually experience that sense of joy and that sense of vitality and that sense of, I've done my best work and I've served people today. There's no reason to wait, because tomorrow is not guaranteed to any of us.
Yes, I mean, the Energy Lab, it's also all about this, right? The thing of doing whatever we're doing, whatever our purpose is, but then still, like, don't forget that we need to give something that we need to have first, right? If you don't have it, you cannot give it. So at the end, it's about exactly creating all this within the well-being system, which is definitely one important point for you as well. And this calls me back to the second question, which is, what's owning the day. You just mentioned you need to do in the day daily. It's not something like one shot, that's it, done, check. It's about the daily. It's our life. It's every day, not like a big thing happening. Like I'm going on holiday and I'm doing it once a year, but it's about the daily stuff. So what's owning your day? What are the 4 pillars of owning the day, or the main pillars?
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why you and I really connect, Ketsi, and your partner Marcus, because when we first met and we hopped on a Zoom, and the synergy was already there. It was like you might be from Germany, you might be from Italy, and I'm from Canada, but we're speaking the same language. I see all of your posts and your content, and it's all about prioritizing well-being. It's about living your best life now and having no excuses to be like, hey, you know what? We're going to live in Mexico for this long, and we're going to live in Germany and then Italy. And then maybe this winter we'll go to maybe like, to know that you're living in that way where it's about you're listening to your own calling. Like, we are just on the same page. And I really love that, and I admire it. So I think that's why it's so cool that when I see your content and your posts and your videos for the both of you, I feel like we are 100% aligned in that sense. But yeah, owning the day I think is important, because if you're trying to improve your life, if you're trying to elevate your business, you're trying to reach the next level, it's like, that's an incredible creative. I think it's inspiring, and I think it is something worth admiring, because not everybody is living from that type of intention, and that's completely okay. That's not everybody's path is oriented to, how do I make this better? How do I transform this aspect of my life? But we have to realize that is an incredibly huge endeavor. You talked about doing hard things earlier. That's a hard freaking thing. To say, I'm going to increase my rates, I'm going to work less, and I'm going to make a bigger impact. Like, that's kind of a lot of those things in the normal conversation don't fully make sense. And so how are you going to accomplish that huge challenge if you can't even take ownership of the day? If you can't take ownership, because how you live your day is how you live your life. If you can't take ownership of the day, if you can't even take ownership of the morning, how are you going to take ownership of that huge problem that you're trying to solve for yourself, for your business, for your clients? And so that's why owning the day is really ultimately the main mechanism of transformation in my book. It's like, can you come from a place of taking responsibility for how you are showing up in the day? Can you take control of what you do have control of, which is your thoughts, your words, your actions? And can you take control of it in the most important moments of the day, where you are at the highest level of mental energy, of physical energy, of ability to control your focus, and to remove distractions and do the things that move the needle? Because it's ultimately, I'm not about like, let's try to control everything, because that's not peaceful, and that's not yin and yang, and that's not balanced. That's not realistic, right? That's why the Stoics will say, when there's Epictetus, he's an ancient Stoic philosopher, and he says, when you are confronted with the things that are not in your control, be prepared to say that it is nothing to you. I remember reading that for the first time and like, wow, it's nothing to me. So I don't like the weather. Is the weather going to be better today? Is the politician going to, get elected that I voted for? Is my favorite team going to win? Is this person going to like me? Like, there's so many things that are not in our control. And if I can declare it's nothing to me, oh, wow, I have a lot more peace.
Lighter, yeah. That's the reason why I stopped looking at the news. I stopped. Like, I just have very high level what's going on, because you cannot. I mean, unless you can do something, I feel like, why I should feel bad. And if I can do something, then I do it. But I was realizing that it's intoxicating on my day, so I kind of decided to. So I feel it. Like, I know what you're talking about.
That's a very smart move. And as you know, we are people who care about the world and care about the planet. And so we get invested into what is happening. And I think it's not about being naive or trying to be ignorant about what's happening in the world. It's realizing that, okay, if I'm getting sucked into what's happening in the world, like what can I do to influence that? What impact can I make on that? Create a For me personally, I feel like if we can transform our inner life, the interiority of our own lives, if we can find a sense of peace inside of there, it can only start to ripple, and we start to realize, oh, this person, that environment, that behavior is actually not serving me, not serving the world. It's easier to see that if you have the lens of, I've taken care of myself, my main asset, I've taken care of my mind, which is what everybody's trying to there's billions of dollars and so much technology trying to capture your valuable attention. Well, if they value it, how come I don't value it? Why am I not controlling it for even just a few hours? So that's the whole, right? So the book is a tool, is a manual to introduce us to the fundamentals and the foundations to actually leverage those aspects in the moments that it counts. Because the rest of the day for me is about, can you just enjoy the day? Can you have, like can you enjoy a coffee and have a slow afternoon and be out in nature and not always be trying to get to the next thing. So really, yeah, owning the day is you own and control what you can control, and for the rest of it, relax, like just chill.
Yeah, tell me about the 4 pillars, which are, we mentioned the well-being one, which are the other 3?
Yes. Yeah, so the first domino that impacts the rest of it, if you have very little bandwidth, very little time, and there's a lot of complexity in your life, I recommend that you follow the pillar of well-being, which is the first pillar, and that's daily self-care. So people think self-care and they're like, oh, did I get a manicure, pedicure? Did I get a massage? It's like, okay, there are things like meditation and exercise and sleep that are incredibly important aspects of well-being. But what if you looked at your life from the lens of, what would self-care do? Right? The way I've designed my business, the types of clients that I'm working with, the types of people in my life, is that a reflection of self-care? Is that me caring for myself? Like you said, the news, right? There was toxic. Well, me watching and consuming the news, am I caring for myself when I'm watching the news? So there's more ways in which you can embody and experience and receive the benefits of well-being beyond just, oh, I journaled today. And not say like that's an important practice. Like I journal every single day, but it is more than some of those tasks and those practices. It is like some of those energetic boundaries to protect ourselves so that we can be of service and be of use to people that we're here to serve and the planet. The second pillar is the pillar of integrity. And so it's all about honoring your word. And so what I've found in over 11 years is so consistent that high achievers, entrepreneurs will try to succeed, but they'll do that by betraying their own values. They'll ignore their own ethics. They'll ignore their morals. They'll ignore their own values, right? Like I have one client who's making so much money, getting lots of clients coming in, and like making this content and doing so well in real estate, and a course creator and a content creator doing so well. But when we started working together, he was not happy at all. He was miserable. And I'm just like, it's amazing that you can affect so much change and accomplish so much, but be so miserable. What is going on? And as we got further into our coaching work together, what we found out is, it was one moment where I said, and this story is actually in the book, I said, tell me, why are you so adamant about creating all this content and like trying to make more courses and stuff like that? Why can't you just like sail off into the sunset with all of your real estate and all of your cash flow? Like you're good now. And he says, well, I want to make an impact. Like I want to help more people and inspire more people. I'm like, well, like to do what? Like, what do you want to help them accomplish? And he says, he's like, you know what? I want people to realize that they can create freedom for themselves and create abundance for themselves. And I said, are you living that? Like, so if you look at how you've been operating, are you a reflection of freedom, of abundance? And he was like, he took a step back and he's just like, oh my God, honestly, I think I'm still operating like I'm a broke 20-something-year-old. And I'm just in a frenzy, in a hurry, and thinking the money's going to run out and I'm going to go broke again. And meanwhile, like he's 7-figure net worth, all this property, and doing so well. And he was operating from so much scarcity and working 60, 70 hours a week. And he's trapped by, it's like, I'm trapped by my business. This is the least free I've felt. And that's a common story. So we look at people on Instagram and they're all winning. And this is not to take anything away from those accomplishments, but it's to realize that there's a human being on the other side of these influencers or these people that we look up to. There's another side. And if we get to look at it, we realize they're human beings just like us. And if they can accomplish those things, so can we. But also they have challenges of their own. And we have to realize, okay, like there's going to be challenges no matter where we are on the path. And for him, it was about, well, what would it mean for you to actually embody freedom and embody abundance? And so that's all about integrity. Like, can you actually be the things that you say are important? You say time with, time for family and time in nature and time away is of value to you. So show it, like, show me. And so he is the person who, like, he bid on that. And he said, I thought I was like honest and transparent with all my clients and had integrity, but this is a whole other level. And so his journey has turned into 3 months down south away from Canadian winters. His journey has led to, last time I checked in with him, working from 60, 70 hours a week down to 14 hours of work a week. And his performance has skyrocketed. So he's been able to free so much time. And I think a big piece is that he's honored that integrity pillar.
That's one of the basic, right? If after we looked at the well-being, so it makes totally sense. It's a number 2.
Yeah, and those two, in my opinion, right? If you have the pillar of well-being and the pillar of integrity, those are the two that actually unlock your capacity. You have access to the best version of yourself when you feel alive and you feel whole. That's like the best version of yourself shows up.
And you also need to do some work, a good amount of work to get there. And I mean, when you say this, it reminds me a lot of the purpose, because if you don't know your own purpose, then you cannot build that. You look for the integrity and the connection, the alignment, who you are, what you do. So I think this second pillar, it's for many of us, definitely a lot of work, but a work worth doing, right?
It's worth doing because everything else lines up. If you want to be able to speak something into existence, if you want to declare a promise or a vision or a possibility for yourself and start to see it come to fruition, come to reality, you want the power of your words and your actions. They got to line up. So I think, yeah, it is deep work because, one of the principles, or the main principle, the pillar of integrity, is the beginning of integrity. Is acknowledging where you're out of integrity. That's where you begin. You look at, where am I not honoring my word? Where am I sinning against myself? Where am I betraying my values? If you can shine a light and be very clear with yourself, I say this is important, but I'm doing the opposite. I say this matters, but I'm not putting any attention on it. I teach this to my clients and I teach this on Instagram, but but I'm not doing that. And it's not to beat yourself up. I think entrepreneurs beat themselves up, but it's not to beat yourself up and make yourself feel worse, because I think as an entrepreneur, you do have to face a lot of like difficulty. And so it's not to make things worse, but it is to realize that if you can see it, then you can do something about it. It really is like just being aware of it starts to create the transformation for you and start to interrupt those habitual patterns on a day-to-day basis. And so that's the second pillar. The third is the pillar of action. So the pillar of action is about doing hard things. And so it's not just taking action and being busy and go through your to-do list. It's in my experience, it's if you don't have time and you have no energy and you feel completely capped, you have family, you have kids, you have all these clients, and there's so much instability and uncertainty in your business, and you're trying to take care of yourself and have fitness and all. If you're trying to do all those things, then it's so important to me that you are the most effective you can be in the least amount of time possible. And so the first place to look, if you just want the quickest path, the shortest path to what to take action on, it's the thing that you're avoiding. Creative. So what is what is the main action? And the action is, it could be a difficult conversation, a choice. What is the one uncomfortable or difficult action or choice or conversation that you're avoiding the most? And start and do that, right? Even if it's a tiny piece of it, a tiny version of it today, whatever you can do today, move it forward a little bit today. And I think that's the simplest way to look at it. But the deeper lens, I think, is about what utilizes the highest level of my skill set. So that's number one, is like, that's actually where the highest value is for you. What has the biggest ripple effect? So that is the leverage piece, right? So if I apply my gifts to what actually has a lot of leverage in my life and in my business, and then it's actually the most relevant challenge that I'm faced with, because ultimately it's like, where are you now and what's in front of you right now? Are you applying that energy and taking action on the thing that actually matters right now? Because getting that out of the way and getting through to the other side of it is what creates that forward progress and the momentum when it comes to the pillar of action. Creative.
Okay, and that's the number 3. Number 4?
Creative. Number 4, this is the hardest one, because we're all so many of us just want to be busy and be taking action and feel like we're making progress, and create a pillar of surrender. Creative.
Letting go.
And so the art of letting go. And in my experience, the most courageous act is to let go. To surrender. Realize, and it's satisfying, because if you look at those pieces and you're like, I did everything that I could today. You can really look back at yourself and say, I did the best that I could with what I had, with what's in front of me. The rest of the day, can I just let go and enjoy the process and actually enjoy this moment? And so it's ultimately, if you can take ownership of those pieces and then move into this place where you have serenity, where you have calmness, where you have playfulness, and you can relax, it's kind of the reason for living, right? Is to actually be in this moment, be in this life. Because tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow's another day, if you're lucky enough to get one, to actually move the needle again. But you've done your work. Like, the rest of the day is for you to be with friends, be with family, enjoy delicious food, watch the sunset, be in nature, do things that are just for the sake of doing it, that actually cultivate that sense of presence and playfulness for you. Creative.
Oliver, I think that this kind of, hustling society, especially between entrepreneurs, makes always more difficult to letting go and then enjoy it, and then walk the talk, like the client you mentioned, and you noted as well in your book. It's about living it as well, like, doing what you're preaching. It's part of it. And on the other side, our hustling culture of, you need to always be the highest, like all the high achievers, and the highest performance, which I don't like a lot. I prefer like optimal performance, because you cannot always be at the highest. That doesn't allow you to go to the
had a health crisis from work, creative, collapsed, creative. So is it really worth it? So I think, yeah, short bursts, short sprints, cool, fine, but realize that's not good long term. That's not wholesome behavior. Creative.
Yeah, that's not sustainable, right? I mean, if you think about, thinking about business and life, if you want to create sustainable business, you need to have a sustainable life, and not only talking about environment. I'm talking about yourself first. Then, okay, within the rest, but you cannot have sustainable business unless you just say, okay, I don't care about now. I just for the future, for heritage, but it doesn't make sense, right? And especially not for young entrepreneurs, which are the ones that are more into it and stop only when it's when something bad is happening. And maybe they really, sometimes we just really need to really how do you say get stuck with our face somewhere and say, okay, now I need to stop. And that's the place where we don't want to get. So I think that the kind of work you're doing there as well, starting with getting the awareness from people, it's the first step. The rest is action. Only awareness, we know what happens with awareness. Not a lot, right? You need to get behind that.
Creative.
Very nice. I have one question that I got from a friend, which is kind of on hold, that I noted down. I wanted to know how you would answer to that. And it talked to me, and then a couple of days ago, he wrote me a sentence like, I just sometimes think that if everyone lived like that, for example, something say, if I look like I look after myself, then everybody else would be fine. Like, then everybody would be taken care of. Like, it's all about, me. And this would work only in the first world. So it was like, I always say, you cannot give what you don't have. So if you impact the life of other people, then you need to start from yourself. But I don't know. What's your thoughts about it? What do you think?
Creative. That is such an understandable statement. Creative. I think I think I can get where this person is coming from, right? Like, it's like, that's great, self-care, take care of yourself. That only works in the first world. That doesn't work in other parts of the world. And I think we have to have some empathy for that, because there's aspects of that I believe are true. I think so. In my book, there's a chapter that's all about human nature, how it is the one thing that we underestimate and the one thing that we overlook, where there's a deep part in our nervous system, in the oldest, most ancient part of our brain, that is all about survival. Creative is trying to keep us safe. It wants things to be familiar. But in the more practical sense, right? Like, my parents came from Philippines. They came from nothing. And they left that country and they moved to Canada, not knowing the language, not having money, took years to establish themselves. And for them to do the jobs that they had to do, would I be where I am right now? I don't think so. Because their job was to get that foundation of being able to basically survive. Because of course, like, if you can't feed yourself, clothe yourself, have a roof over your head, and be warm in the like in the Canadian winters, you're not thinking about what's my purpose. You're not, like, you don't have time or energy to think about, am I in integrity with my values? You don't, like, and in many ways, it's actually not the most appropriate thing. So that's why, one of the things in the book is about dealing with the most relevant issue at hand, because that's like, what is your purpose? Your purpose is to unlock the most relevant problem in front of you. So if the most relevant problem in front of you is basic survival, then yeah, all these other questions aren't on the table. If you look at the chakra system in yoga, the root chakra is all about survival. So if you can't get to I'm taken care of, I'm fed, I'm surviving. You can't move into the sacral chakra, which is about procreation and creativity and passion. Like you can't get to the place of like, oh, all right, like we have there's enough here. Let's get to this place. And so I think it's also, I mean, if you want to parallel even more, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? It is like shelter, and then you start to climb up and move up in terms of, all right, so now that base is taken care of. What's the next level that I can start considering and thinking about? So I do, I resonate with what this person is trying to say. But then the other aspect is, I've gone to places, and I'm sure you've gone to places in like where they're considered third world. Like I'm getting this image of my head. My wife, she went to Kenya for a service project, and it was for yoga, and she was invited to go visit the slums, like one of the most impoverished parts of that country. And she was there as a, like with other people as a foreigner. And she was expected to be, she had no idea what to expect. Part of her was kind of scared, not knowing what was going to happen. Is it going to be dangerous? And she was like, she thought it was the most magnificent experience in terms of realizing how much joy is actually still possible. There's film that she has of like a little kid like dancing. He's dancing in the middle of the street in a diaper, right? Bare feet in the dirt, right? In the middle of the slums. She was like dancing to Bob Marley with a bunch of people. That doesn't take away the fact that the conditions are very poor, and they're suffering. But it's like, yeah, joy is still possible in those circumstances and in those environments. So I do feel like there are aspects to what he's saying that are important for us to appreciate and to understand, but also that level of, can I create joy for myself from exactly where I am? Can I create a sense of peace from exactly where I am? I think that is an opportunity for us to have more capacity to break through whatever issue that we are facing right now. And I think people in the first world have problems, and like we try not to diminish, try not invalidate the fact that I talk to entrepreneurs all the time who right now they're suffering. Like their businesses have been cut in half or worse in the last 2 years, and they are in really difficult times, and it's not fun at all. It's not glamorous at all, and the decisions that entrepreneurs face and that they have to make are not for not everybody wants to be in that position where they have to they have to let people go. They have to take from their savings to keep the business going. They have to shrink their lifestyle so that they can sustain and keep going. And I really admire that. That they're so dedicated in that sense. So we all have issues. It's not to diminish anyone's issues, but it's just to recognize we're all in this. We're all in this. We're all trying. We're all figuring it out. And your life is the one that you have to deal with, right? Your choices are the ones that you have to deal with the consequences of. And that's why it's like, if you deal with these important pieces today, the version of you tomorrow will be like, oh, thanks. Like, I'm glad that you created some momentum in that area, because it's a little bit easier in that part of my life.
The levels of struggle change, but everybody struggles somehow. Like I once heard on a Mexican street many years ago something like, everybody's suffering. And I was like, looking around, and you never know what's behind even somebody that looks totally happy. And on the other side, there was somebody that was, asking for money, and who knows, like everybody's suffering for one reason or the other. It's like part of humanity. So you said it, not comparing, and of course each part of the world with its challenges, but going back to the entrepreneur, many times, right? I mean, if we talk about purpose-driven entrepreneurs, we're talking about impact on other people's life, as you just said. So I think that it's always difficult to answer to these kind of questions. Thank you for putting that into perspective. But it's those questions many times put us only to look at one side, but it's impossible. Like you cannot do that, because you would know not be able to give proper answer. There is no proper answer. Everybody's suffering, and there is always a way of helping with different things, but there is no perfect solution for anybody. It's a journey, right, for each of us. Yeah.
And I think that's why you and I, we do the work that we do, because we know this is what is healing and helpful and empowering for us. And we don't need to like try to fix the whole world. There's people who are like us and we have walked the same path as them, and we want to turn around and help them with those things that we know are so valuable and so important to us. And it's it's just amazing that we all have that opportunity in our own ways. Like, if you've struggled and have been gone through pain and have had trauma, and you've found ways and pathways to heal and grow and empower yourself to live well and do well, there are people who are just like you, who are just a few steps behind you, and you are the one who most deeply empathizes and understands that struggle and that pain. And I think a part of our calling and a part of our purpose is to be able to turn around and bring that other person up with us. And we lack that a little bit, because we used to live in a tribal type of environment where there was 40 people max maybe in our community, in our environment, and there was always, we're learning from the elders, right? And then you're coming up, and then you get initiated, and you become a man or a woman, and then you're turning around. Now you're the elder, and you are bringing the younger generation up, and there is like this full circular type of experience. So I think it's important that we have people that we are being guided and mentored and taught by. And then we have people with us along the way who are keeping us accountable. We're on parallel journeys, and we can relate and we can journey together, and then realize that we all are a few steps ahead of somebody else just behind us. And I think a part of feeling whole in this life is to find a way to serve those people. It doesn't mean you have to make it into a business. It doesn't mean you have to turn it into a service. But I think it does mean that somehow, in some way, you utilize your wisdom and your experiences to help lift those people up. And it's not the sense of like, oh, people are behind you, or it's just realizing that there are people who are. Yeah.
It's not like Lisa said, like there is one ahead of you a whole life ahead of you. And the system we have now, it's much more as a network, right? It works really like a net, like a spider net or something, where it's much more connection. And that's beautiful. And that's something that I believe is really like a huge booster for our own growth, and also for being able to help more people, even if it's not about a business. I totally agree with you. It's very, very nice. I have so many topics we talk about, which completely resonate. So you gave it a wonderful shape, and I really loved it. Before we say goodbye, where can people can connect with you? Where would you suggest to find for you, to look for you?
Yeah. If you'd like to explore and check out my new book, The Daily Prosperity Method, you can go to my website, olivermanalese.com/DPM. And that's where you'll find all the information about the book. And it's very, I think it's, to me, it's the best thing that I've ever created. I'm incredibly proud of it. And it's taken this much out of my life, like 1,100 hours, 6 rewrites. I've written 150,000 words and narrowed and tightened it to 70,000 words. So there's almost 400 pages in there of it's a toolkit, and it's the most impactful foundational principles that have served my life and my clients' lives over the last 11 plus years of doing this work. And so I would be really grateful and honored if you're interested in becoming a reader of that book. And so that's where you can find me. And then you can find me on just my website, olivermanalese.com. So to find out the work that I do, and if you'd like to have a conversation with me, there's information on there as well. And I guess on social media, I'm active on Instagram and LinkedIn. If you want to interact and you want to fill your newsfeed with a little bit of positivity or insight, I enjoy being in those places as well.
I will put all the links in the description. And thank you so much. It's been really, really cool talking to you. And there's a lot of nice topics that are worth going deeper into. So I will start reading your book this weekend. So you will be my first weekend action. And I'm really looking forward to going deeper into it. Thank you, Oliver.
Ketty, it is such a pleasure and such an honor to be on your show and to be invited to be on your show and to have this conversation and to be connected with you. And I just want to take a moment and just acknowledge you for the work that you do, for living a good life and actually living the principles. And it's, the more I get to know you and Marcus and see behind the scenes of how committed and dedicated you are, and your curiosity to actually connect with people and be students and learn from people, and then wanting to live with freedom of time and freedom of location and actually move to different parts of the world because this is what is the value that you have. These are your values. I think that's so, like, to me, that's inspirational, and it sets such an amazing example for all of us and we all have reasons. We all have stuff going on to not do those things. So I love that you are demonstrating. It's like, hey, we have those reasons too, but it's a value. So we are going to do what it takes to make it happen. And so I appreciate our connection and thank you so much.
Same, thanks. I appreciate a lot your friendship and the wonderful conversation we had. Thank you very much, Oliver.
Thank you, Ketty.